After 15 years of marriage, my wife told me at our anniversary dinner she was leaving me for her ex and taking half of everything. What she didn't remember was the postnuptial agreement she signed years earlier. In 2008, I, 44 male, was working at a mid-sized accounting firm in Chicago. Fresh CPA, decent pay, studio apartment that cost too much, and ramen 3 nights a week because I was saving for a house. Standard millennial math. My cubicle neighbor, now my best friend, was Tyler, laid-back Wisconsin guy who somehow made auditing tolerable. After work, we'd grab coffee, and he'd tell me divorce stories from cases he supported. Not as a lawyer, but as the forensic accountant cleaning up the wreckage. The guy wasn't just any forensic accountant. He specialized in high-net-worth divorces where one spouse tried to hide assets. You know what I see every week, he said, stirring his third coffee of the afternoon. Guys who built million-dollar businesses but kept everything in joint accounts because that's what married people do. Then the wife decides she's not happy and walks with half of something she never touched. His stories weren't theoretical. Tyler worked cases where software entrepreneurs lost companies they coded alone, where contractors got cleaned out by wives who'd never swung a hammer, where doctors paid alimony on practices they built working 80-hour weeks while their spouse did yoga. Dude, you wouldn't believe what guys miss, he said once at our usual diner. Doctors, engineers, founders, they'll research a car for months and never read their own prenup. Then they're shocked that joint account doesn't mean what they think it means. His take was simple. Most divorces are about money and control. Whoever controls the paperwork controls the outcome. Everything else is noise. I thought he was cynical. Then I worked a few divorce asset cases myself and realized he was just accurate. The same year, my older brother Aaron got wrecked. He'd built a contracting business from nothing, owned 3 rentals, had his life dialed in. His wife Isabel looked sweet and supportive right up until she decided to find herself with her Pilates instructor. She walked with half his assets, alimony, and the house. The worst part wasn't the money. Aaron had security cameras on his job sites, and Isabel brought the instructor to the house Aaron was renovating for them. The timestamps showed her screwing the guy in their future bedroom while Aaron was picking out kitchen cabinets she'd requested. When Aaron's lawyer played the footage in court, Isabel's attorney claimed it showed Aaron was emotionally unavailable. The judge bought it. Aaron lived in his office for 6 months. Isabel moved the instructor into the home. Aaron built and posted Facebook photos about their new beginning. I trusted her completely, he told me while we carried boxes out of the house he paid for. Never thought I needed protection from my own wife. That night, Tyler and I made a pact, the never again protocol. If either of us ever got married, we'd help the other build a real financial structure, because we'd seen too many good men blindsided by people they thought they knew. 3 years later, I met Maya at a company holiday party. Gorgeous, funny, and actually impressed that I liked my boring accountant job. We clicked hard, but I also remembered Aaron in that empty office, and I remembered Tyler's files full of guys who assumed fair would save them. So, while I fell for Maya, I built protection. Not because I didn't trust her, because I learned that trust and preparation aren't opposites. Tyler helped me design it like a corporate tax strategy. Layers of entities, clear documentation, separation between personal and business assets. I kept most income and assets and accounts under my name, used entities for investment properties, and had her sign standard-looking planning documents that clearly defined separate ownership of premarital and earned assets. All legal, all clean, mostly invisible unless you knew where to look. Tyler insisted on one rule. Every signature needs a witness, and a reason that isn't because I'm paranoid. Make it about taxes, estate planning, liability protection, never about divorce prep. For 12 years, those documents sat like smoke detectors, quiet but ready. Turns out I actually needed them after 15 years of marriage when I thought I was building something real with Maya. Tuesday night anniversary, 15 years in. We're at the downtown Italian spot where we had our 3rd date back when Maya called my money planning cute and responsible instead of boring and controlling. She's wearing the blue dress I bought her 2 years ago. I'm thinking maybe we hit that dessert place after. Maybe have a real conversation for once. Then she drops it. No warm-up. No. We need to talk. She stabs the moment between bites of risotto she spent 10 minutes complaining about because the server brought it too quickly. Evan, I need to tell you something important. I looked at her and nodded, so she continued. I'm going back to Dean. My stomach dropped. For a moment, I thought I heard it wrong. Excuse me, Dean, my ex. I don't think we should continue. I mean, you are a good husband, but I feel like I'm getting bored with you. And honestly, Dean has always been my true love. I was still staring blankly at her, processing what I'm hearing. Then she dropped the final nail in the coffin. I never really loved you, Evan. I just settled for you. And just like that, 15 years of marriage gone to waste. Ended within a span of 3 minutes. Like she already rehearsed the whole thing in the mirror. Here's what usually happens. What naturally happens. Husband loses it. Begs. Creates a public scene she can package for her sister Paige as proof I'm controlling. That was the outcome she wanted. Instead, I set my fork down, wiped my mouth, and said, then you should leave tonight. No bargaining. No. We can work this out. No. What about our daughter manipulation? Just logistics. If you don't love me, the door exists. Her face glitched. She wanted a meltdown and got a decision. You could see the gears jam. The drive home was quiet except for her breathing, which got shakier every few miles. She kept glancing over, waiting for the begging scene she'd planned. It never came. I kept Tyler's line in my head. The calm one controls the situation. At the house, she started the performance, stomping around, throwing clothes into suitcases like she was auditioning. Calls on speaker so I could hear Dean's gravel voice. Forced laughs. A whole act designed to bait me. When she dragged the last suitcase to the door, she went for the closer. I guess I'll finally get half of everything, said with the smirk of someone who thinks she's solved a puzzle. I'm too dumb to see. I leaned against the kitchen door frame and stayed quiet. Sometimes silence does more damage than any line you could deliver. What Maya never bothered to ask in 15 years, I've been building in the background. 7 years ago, she got distant and weird with her phone. More time with girlfriends, less with me. The slow pullback every married guy recognizes and tries not to. That's when I quietly activated the never again protocol. She walked out with her chin up like she'd scored match point. I went to my study, opened the file I hoped I'd never touch, and started reading. Auditors learn to spot fraud years before it hits the ledger. Marriage stripped down is a partnership with assets and obligations. My wife had just announced she was breaching that partnership, planning her exit while angling for a cut of things she didn't build or protect. She thought she'd cornered me. She didn't know I'd mapped the room. Time to show her what happens when you try to run a play on someone who sets the terms. The house felt different after Maya left. Quiet. Like killing a background hum you forgot was there. I sat in my study for 13 minutes. Yeah, I time things when life tilts. Just listening to the silence and thinking about what Tyler would say when I called. She actually said that at your anniversary dinner. That's ice cold even for a divorce ambush. Who drops that over salmon? Gets better. She thinks she's getting half because we're in Illinois. Tyler laughed. Not mean. More like someone admiring a trap about to spring. She really doesn't know how you structured things, does she? Never asked. 15 years. And she never once wanted to understand how our money actually worked. She assumed married meant automatic 50. 50. No matter who earned it or built it, including the postnup. Signed it while watching reality TV. Barely glanced at the pages. Called it my paranoid paperwork the whole time. That postnup was the foundation of the never again protocol. We put it in place 7 years ago when we refinanced. Framed as standard asset protection paperwork, protecting our investment from potential lawsuits, I told her. She signed every page, half watching TV, trusting her boring husband to keep it simple. Tyler had drafted the language like a corporate merger. Technically accurate, legally bulletproof, written so only someone with tax background would catch the implications. The key clause actually created separate property classifications for anything earned or acquired post-signature. What she didn't clock, the agreement spelled out that anything earned or acquired by either spouse stayed separate unless explicitly combined in writing. Everything I built, saved, or invested remained in my name. House, cars, investment accounts, mine. She had access, not ownership. I opened my laptop to what looked like a vanilla investment tracker. Behind it was Tyler's nuclear option, a network of business accounts, portfolios, and property holdings, tight enough to make a corporate lawyer nod. The structure worked like this. My salary flowed into a business entity which paid me distributions based on consulting work. Those distributions funded our household account, the one Maya saw. Everything else stayed in business accounts she never knew existed. Real estate rolled through LLCs. Investment gains accumulated in retirement accounts with separate property designations. It wasn't hiding assets. It was organizing them according to agreements she'd signed. One click started the sequence. The house in my name only since the refinance with her signature, acknowledging separate ownership. Bank accounts mostly individual with her as an authorized user, not an owner. Her car, the BMW, she campaigned for to look successful, leased through my business entity. Everything she labeled ours was mine. The joint checking she was probably planning to drain tomorrow. $3,000 for bills. The real money lived in accounts she never saw statements for. I pulled the documents I drafted years ago, added one line. Spouse voluntarily vacated marital residence with stated intent to dissolve marriage, implementing asset protection protocols per signed agreements. Signed, scanned, uploaded to the secure server, and dropped into my lawyer's emergency inbox. By the time her ride cleared the curb, she was a former household member with no rights to separately owned assets. She didn't know yet. She was probably at Dean's, congratulating herself. Next morning, I'm making coffee, enjoying the first peaceful breakfast I've had in years, when my phone starts buzzing. Not Maya. She still doesn't know the financial reality check is coming. Her sister, Paige. Paige is basically Maya with a law degree and double the entitlement. She divorced her husband 3 years ago, walked with his dental practice, the house, and enough alimony to bankroll her feminist empowerment coaching. She's been in Maya's ear for years. Smart women maximize settlements. Financially abusive husbands must be held accountable. Her legal career peaked in 2019 when she won a slip-and-fall case against a grocery chain. Since then, it's been small-time personal injury and messy divorce cases. She handles maybe 2 divorces per year. Her strategy is always the same. File fast, claim abuse, demand emergency support, hope the husband settles to avoid public embarrassment. It works on guys who value reputation over preparation. Texts start around 8 a.m. Heard about you and Maya. She deserves better. Hope you're prepared to pay what you owe. 15 years of her life wasted on your selfish rear. Time to face consequences for your emotional abuse. I don't respond. She's fishing for something she can screenshot. By 10 a.m., she calls. Evan, we need to discuss your situation. No, Paige, we don't. I'm representing Maya. Any attempts to hide or transfer marital assets will have serious legal consequences. We're talking about criminal charges. I almost laughed. Paige, you might want to review the postnuptial agreement before making threats you can't back up. What postnuptial agreement? Bingo. Mia never told her. Probably because Mia never understood any of it. The one your sister signed in 2018. Filed with the county clerk. Public record should be easy for a new to find. Long pause. You can hear her trying to decide if I'm bluffing or if she just stepped in something sticky. Any postnuptial signed under duress or without proper counsel can be challenged. Good luck proving duress on something she signed while watching reality TV. There's a notary witness and a home security timestamp of her joking about my ridiculous paperwork obsession. Another pause. Longer. Okay, we'll see. Mia is staying with me while we sort this out. And Evan, you picked the wrong family to mess with. We called her women. Don't back down from bullies, right? We'll see about that. Tyler calls 20 minutes later, laughing. Dude, Paige is representing Maya. This is perfect. How is that perfect? She's still a lawyer. An incompetent one who thinks she's the smartest person in the room. She'll make mistakes, cut corners, and try to bully you into a quick settlement. Meanwhile, you've got 7 years of documentation and a structure she's never seen. Think she'll actually file? Oh, she'll file. But she's bringing a template divorce to a corporate tax fight. She's not built for this. That afternoon, Paige makes her first big mistake. She files a temporary restraining order, claiming I'm hiding marital assets and preventing my client from accessing community resources necessary for basic survival. The filing read like she copy-pasted from a domestic violence template and plugged in financial language. She claimed I was isolating the victim through economic control and had suddenly restricted access to marital funds without mentioning that Maya had voluntarily left or that she'd signed agreements defining separate property. Problem: she files it without reading a single relevant document. She assumes standard joint property and assumes I'm locking Maya out of shared accounts. My lawyer, Victor, calls that evening, amused. Evan, I saw Paige Calder's TTRO. She alleges asset concealment, but ignores the separate property documentation and the post-nup. It's like she doesn't know they exist. Because she doesn't, Maya never told her. This is either strategy or incompetence. Given it's Paige, I'm voting incompetence. He chuckles. It's about to get expensive for them. I'm filing a response with everything. 7 years of statements. Separate property records. The post-nup. Social posts showing premeditation. The judge will see she filed a motion without basic homework. You're what happens then. Best case for them, TTRO dismissed and they regroup with real counsel. Worst, the judge sanctions Paige for wasting time and awards you fees. The best part of Paige representing Maya is that it guarantees they'll underestimate the situation and lead with emotions. Paige sees a routine case where the boring husband gets cleaned out by the liberated wife who found her strength. What she didn't see coming. 15 years of preparation by a guy who made it his business to understand how people like her operate and exactly how to beat them. Wednesday morning, Maya walked into our bank like she just won a prize patrol sweepstakes. I wasn't there, but Thomas, the branch manager, gave me the play-by-play later. Apparently, it was the most entertaining thing First National had seen in months. She showed up around 10 a.m. with Paige in tow, both dressed like they were heading to court, not handling routine banking. Maya had gone full power pose, fresh highlights, designer purse. She probably floated on a credit card. The whole independent woman reclaiming her power costume she'd been practicing in Paige's guest bathroom. I need to access our joint savings and transfer funds to my new personal account, she told the college kid at the counter, sliding her license like VIP credentials. The teller, Brady, a business major who'd been working there 6 months, typed, paused, typed again, frowned at the screen. Poor kid probably thought the system was broken. I'm gonna get my supervisor, he said, which is bank speak for this is above my pay grade. The teller typed, paused, typed again, frowned at the screen, then looked up with that bank face. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm only seeing access to one account. The household checking with a balance of about $300. Maya's voice jumped 4 octaves. That's impossible. We've banked here for 15 years. Check again. Check harder. Paige stepped up to flash her law degree like a badge. There's been an error. My client has joint ownership of multiple accounts. Ma'am, there are other accounts under Mr. Whitman's name, but you're not listed as an owner. You had access privileges and those were revoked yesterday. That's when Thomas came out. He brought them into his office and set down a file thicker than Paige's divorce experience. Mrs. Whitman, I need to show you some documents you've signed over the past few years. Inside, notarized forms, all signed by Maya when she thought she was just doing boring bank stuff. First, 2018, account restructuring. It removed joint ownership from primary accounts and left her with access privileges to a household spending account. Second, a beneficiary update confirming she understood the difference between access and ownership. Third, the dagger, a customer survey from 2 years ago where she wrote she appreciated how her husband handled all financial decisions, didn't want boring money stuff, and trusted him completely to take care of everything. Thomas said she stared at her own signatures like they'd betrayed her. This has to be fraud. I never agreed to this, but there it was. Her handwriting, her signature, notarized, time-stamped. That's when Maya detonated. You can't just steal my money. I was his wife for 15 years. I cooked. I decorated. I gave him my best years. Thomas, still in professional mode. These accounts were individually owned. You had access privileges granted by the owner. Those privileges were revoked per signed agreements. Paige's face turned red. This is financial abuse. We'll contact the banking commission. You're welcome to, Thomas said. All documentation is in order and available for review. Maya pivoted to the greatest hits. I manipulated her. She didn't understand. Thomas pulled the survey again. Her words in ink about preferring I handle finances and not wanting to be bothered. Begging didn't work. Crying didn't work. The you don't understand what kind of man he is appeal didn't work. They left empty-handed, slowly understanding that assumptions and legal reality are different planets. The best part, as they hit the door, Paige told Maya, "Don't worry, we'll fight this in court and get your money back." Thomas overhearing, "Ma'am, there's nothing to fight. Have a good day," Tyler called that evening. His wife knows someone at the bank. They're calling it the Great Bank Meltdown of 2024. Maya thought joint marriage meant she owned half of everything. For 15 years, she never asked how our finances worked. I said she assumed marriage equals automatic 50 divided by 50, regardless of who earned the money or who signed what. And Paige, she's about to learn the difference between personal injury settlements and complex financial structures. By afternoon, Maya had pushed past the I'm broke shock and decided this was a temporary hiccup, solvable by attitude and outrage. She still had Dean's place, her love nest, her authentic self HQ, where she could pretend the old life was the problem and the new one would be Instagram perfect. Dean's apartment was supposed to launch independent Maya, modern fixtures, downtown location, zero budget talks, no 50/50 on expenses. She'd been posting all week about self-discovery and living my truth. She probably planned the comeback, drive over, write a blog about financial abuse, pivot to influencer, finally open that Etsy shop, angle for a survivor story tour. Then she saw the yellow paper taped to the door, lease termination notice. Unauthorized long-term guest in violation of Section 12.3. Vacate within 48 hours or face eviction proceedings. At first, it had to read like a mistake. Wrong door. Bad timing. Then the fine print started clicking. Dean's incredible deal came from his property guy way below Evanet. He bragged. I know people. What he didn't know, what Maya never cared to learn, was that his property guy was a manager I'd worked with years ago when I started buying rentals through business entities. Chicago real estate moves in small circles when you know forensic accountants who handle asset disputes. One of those properties ultimately rolled up to a holding company I control. When Dean broke his lease by harboring a long-term guest, the manager called me as a courtesy. Paperwork followed. Tyler had helped me buy the building 2 years ago through a shell LLC. Not to trap Dean, but because it was a solid investment property in a gentrifying neighborhood. Dean becoming a tenant was a coincidence. Dean harboring my soon-to-be ex-wife was karma. The manager later told me Dean opened the door midday, soda in hand, yesterday's t-shirt. Babe, what's wrong now? Expecting low-effort drama he could gloss over. Maya shoved the notice at him. Did you know? Do you know who owns this place? Dean read it twice and went pale. Wait, your husband has something to do with this building? She couldn't answer. Dean retreated to rummage through his lease, less to defend Maya than to plan his own exit. Guys like him are great at the soft focus montage, hopeless when a problem requires responsibility or cost. Maya did what Maya does, reframed reality into a plot against her happiness. She pounded on the door. Dean, get out here. We have to fight this from inside. Call your sister. This is legal stuff. I don't do legal stuff. You're just going to let him kick us out? You won't fight for us? Silence. Then us? This is your divorce. I didn't sign up for whatever this is, Ma snapped. She screamed in the hallway that everyone was abandoning her, that I was financially abusing her by stealing her home. Neighbors stepped out. One filmed when she kicked the door and called Dean a coward and me a sociopath. The clip landed on Next Door. Woman having a breakdown in our building. Does anyone know her? 6 hours later, 200 comments shared into 3 Facebook groups. Maya became a local meme without knowing it. Then Paige called furious. Evan, what you're doing is harassment and intimidation. We're filing for emergency protective orders. What harassment, Paige? The eviction notice. You can't just kick someone out of their home. Dean's apartment isn't Maya's home. She's not on the lease. The lease prohibits long-term guests without written approval. She's been staying there for weeks. Exactly. The violation. Dean harbored an unauthorized occupant. As a party with an ownership interest, I'm allowed to enforce the lease. Silence. She'd stepped into deeper water than she wanted. Also, if Maya keeps harassing tenants or disrupting the property, management will pursue trespass charges. Heads up. The next day, Maya came to my house. She tried her key. Didn't work. I changed locks the morning after she left. Legal given the documentation and her voluntary departure. She pounded on the door, hammered the bell, yelled through the windows that I couldn't lock her out of her own home. I called the cops. Officer Herrera showed up. He listened to Maya's story about being illegally evicted by her abusive husband. I handed him the documents. Postnup, voluntary departure, title records, separate asset paperwork. He turned to Maya. Ma'am, per these documents, you voluntarily left. The property isn't in your name. You don't have a legal right to be here, but I am his wife. Ma'am, according to this, you ended the relationship and vacated. Right now, you're trespassing, she argued. Herrera didn't waver. You need to leave or I'll arrest you for criminal trespass. She left, but made sure the cul-de-sac heard. This isn't over, Evan. You can't just steal someone's life. Tyler texted an hour later. Saw the Next Door video. She's gone off the rails. How's it feel to win a game she didn't know she was playing? Pretty satisfying, I replied. The call from my daughter Hannah came just after midnight Friday. I expected it. She's too smart to buy anyone's story wholesale, but 20-year-olds still want answers when their family blows up. Dad, hey, kiddo, figured you'd call. Figured. I just got off the phone with Mom. She's staying at Aunt Paige's and completely falling apart. She says you stole everything. She can't even buy groceries and you spent years planning to destroy her life. Is that true? I leaned back, choosing words. Hannah, do me a favor. Open your Dropbox. The folder with your college financial aid docs. There's a file called Family Financial Structure. I put it there when you turned 18. Estate planning, inheritance, the works. Dad, I don't want to be in the middle. You're not. You're getting facts, not an emotional version. Your mother signed the postnup 7 years ago. What's happening now was triggered by her choice to leave for another man, not anything I did to her. Long pause. She was weighing it. The bank thing. Is Mom really broke? Your mom has the same access she always had. She just doesn't have access to accounts that were never hers to begin with. There's a difference. But you were married for 15 years. Being married doesn't auto-merge every asset, especially with signed agreements spelling it out. Hannah, your mom chose to blow up our family. That's on her. What she doesn't get to do is blow up our finances and pretend she's the victim when consequences show up. Another pause. Dad, did you know about her and Dean? I knew this one was coming. I suspected for a while. I didn't have proof until she posted a photo on social media. What photo? Check your mom's Instagram. The timestamp on that celebration picture with Dean is 5 hours before our anniversary dinner. While I was at the lowest, she was publicly celebrating the affair. Hannah's breath caught. She posted about Dean before she told you she was leaving. She was documenting her exit while acting normal. We ended without a goodbye. She needed time to process. She checked timestamps, read docs, and separate feelings from facts. That's who she is. Hannah inherited my forensic instincts and her mother's social radar. Deadly combination for someone trying to run a con. That night, she went full audit mode on her mother's digital life. Not just Instagram, but Facebook, Snapchat, text threads, even Venmo payments. She found Dean's payments to Maya going back 4 months. Cash labeled as groceries and gas that lined up with expensive dinners and weekend trips. The digital breadcrumbs painted a picture. Maya had been test driving the Dean relationship while married, using my credit cards to fund dates with him, posting couples photos without tagging me, and gradually erasing evidence of our marriage from her social presence. Then late morning, Paige made mistake number 2. She filed an emergency motion, claiming I was financially abusing Maya and demanding immediate access to all marital accounts pending the divorce. Victor called around noon, already laughing. Evan Page Calder just submitted the most incompetent emergency filing I've seen in 20 years. She's asking for support without acknowledging any separate property documentation or the postnup. Interesting. It gets better. Page attached screenshots of Maya's social posts as evidence of emotional distress, including that celebration photo with Dean. She doesn't grasp that those images show premeditation and undercut emergency support. What's our move? I'm filing a counter with 7 years of documents plus sanctions for frivolous motion practice. The judge will see she didn't do basic homework. Around 3 p.m., Hannah texted. Read everything. Holy crap. Dad, we need to talk. She called that evening. Different voice, like someone who just realized trusted people had been lying. Dad, I went through Mom's phone. She left it at Aunt Page's and Paige gave me the passcode to show me what kind of monster you are. Instead, I found texts with Dean going back 6 months. I'm sorry you had to see that, kiddo. She's been planning since last summer. Messages about maximizing the settlement. Waiting until after your anniversary to make it more dramatic. And Dean, helping her research your business accounts. She wasn't leaving because she was unhappy. She thought she could make more money. That's what I figured. And Aunt Paige. Some of these messages are her coaching Mom on how to script financial abuse, how to make you look controlling to justify taking more. That's when I knew Hannah had chosen sides. Dad, I'm changing my emergency contact at school, and I want Mom removed from my financial aid and college fund access. You sure? She's been asking weird questions about your life insurance and whether I knew about hidden money. I think she wanted to use me to get info she can't access. The next day, Maya called Hannah 11 times. No answer. The voicemail Maya left. Hannah forwarded it to me. Hannah, sweetie, your father is brainwashing you. He's making me the villain when I just wanted happiness after years of emotional abuse. I'm your mother. I carried you. I raised you. You owe me better. Call me now. Hannah's response was to change her greeting. Hi, you've reached Hannah Whitman. I'm not available. If it's important, text me. Meanwhile, Paige's emergency motion was denied with prejudice, meaning she can't refile without starting from scratch with new evidence. The judge also ordered her to show cause why she shouldn't be sanctioned for frivolous filings. That's when Paige realized she was out of her depth and tried to hand Mia off to someone who specializes in complex assets. Too late. Mia couldn't afford a real specialist. And Paige's misfires had already cratered their strategy with procedural screw-ups and blown deadlines. Now, let's talk about Dean Marlowe. The guy spent most of his adult life convinced he was the smartest guy in any room. College QB face, used Carlo's soul, just enough wins to keep the ego inflated. His specialty was poaching married women and walking away whistling. Tyler's forensic work had shown me Dean's pattern years earlier. He wasn't Maya's first married woman. He was her third. 2 previous relationships followed the same playbook. Charm the wife, coach the exit, collect benefits during the chaos, disappear when reality hits. Both women warned me during discovery. He targets women going through divorces, studies their finances, promises them everything, delivers nothing, leaves them worse than when he found them. With Maya, he thought he'd hit the jackpot. An older woman with money issues, married to a boring accountant who'd fold like those divorce movies he binged over cereal. Easy run. Until the process server knocked. Dean Marlowe, you've been served. Thick envelope, court seal, my name listed as plaintiff. His face went from smug to stopped up in 3 seconds. The claims read like a corporate case: intentional interference with contractual relations, alienation of affections, conspiracy to commit marital fraud. Calculated financial manipulation was highlighted so he couldn't miss it. The exhibits did the real damage. Exhibit A, a digital forensics report of his socials, texts, and dating app activity showing a pattern. Target married women with assets. Coach them through divorce tactics. He'd done it twice before. I found both families, and they were willing to testify about his system. Exhibit B, financial records showing he'd been paying below evident rent on a property connected to my holdings, benefiting from my investment while helping my wife plan to raid my accounts. The analysis showed he saved about $18,000 over 2 years via the discount. Exhibit C, the kill shot. Lawful recordings of Dean and Mia discussing how to maximize her settlement and sit on assets until after the papers. Illinois is a one-party consent state. I recorded every conversation when Mia came home and put calls on the speaker. The content spoke for itself. I asked the court to establish a precedent labeling this romance's fraud playbook as actionable plus punitive damages. Dean texted Maya immediately. What is this lawsuit? You said this was handled. 3 hours later, can't talk. Dealing with my own legal problems. That's when he realized he was alone in a game he didn't understand. His lawyer, Elliot, older, sharp, white-collar specialist, translated it into terms even Dean could digest. Son, this wasn't just an affair. You engineered a financial scheme, and romance was the delivery device. This isn't family court. This is civil court. They're treating you like a con artist. Geek, can't I just apologize? Pay something? You can try to settle, but if they want precedent more than money, you're staring at a long public trial. It'll follow you every time someone Googles you. Worst case, best case, mid-six figures plus fees, confession of judgment, and you agree to stay away from married women. Worst trial, judgment that wipes you out, and a decade of payments while employers read court records, calling you a professional homewrecker who profits off fraud. He finally understood this wasn't revenge accounting. It was making his business model legally toxic. Meanwhile, Maya was running out of options, money, and grip on reality. Evicted from Dean's place, barred from my house, now living in Paige's basement like a 45-year-old failure to launch. Rather than reset, she decided the problem was public misunderstanding. She spun up a Facebook group, Financial Abuse Survivors, and started daily rants about how I'd stolen her life. Her own posts buried her. He changed the locks on our house just because I moved in with my soulmate. He's keeping me from our money just because I signed papers years ago without reading. My daughter won't talk to me just because she found texts that make me look bad. Each post, approximately 3 likes, Paige's divorced friends, and approximately 40 comments from strangers who recognized her. Favorite line, it's not fair he keeps everything just because he earned it, protected it, and planned ahead. Marriage is 50-50. Reply, ma'am, this is a Wendy's. 200 likes. The Facebook group became a case study in self-sabotage. Every post provided more evidence for my legal team. Admissions that she never read documents, confirmations that she left voluntarily, proof that she viewed marriage as an entitlement program rather than a partnership. Then came her final meeting request. No lawyers, no Paige, just showing up at my office and demanding security calm me down. I almost said no, but we met in the lobby. She looked 10 years older, like someone whose fairy tale crashed, and who still couldn't see how she'd become the villain of her own story. Evan, we need to fix this. There's nothing to fix. I made mistakes, but destroying my life won't bring our marriage back. I didn't destroy your life. You chose fraud over an honest divorce. She shifted tactics. What about Hannah? Don't you want her to have a relationship with her mother? Hannah's an adult. She'll have whatever relationship you earn. You broke that relationship the same way you broke everything else, by putting yourself first. The mask slipped. You think you're so smart. You think you won. I'll make you pay. I'll tell everyone what you are. You already did, Maya. There are videos of you yelling in hallways. There are your posts. You told everyone, and they believed you, just not the way you wanted. She turned for the door, shouting for the lobby to hear. I'll make you regret this. You can't throw away 15 years like it meant nothing, I answered. Same volume. You threw away 15 years. I just refused to pay for the privilege. 6 months later, Dean settled. $275,000 plus my legal fees, and he signed an agreement to avoid contacting married women through apps or social media with penalties if he violates it. Mia is still in Paige's basement, part-time at a real estate office, posting new beginnings, and surviving narcissistic husband quotes to an audience mostly hate-following for entertainment. Paige's practice is under state bar review for procedural faceplants and client complaints. Filing motions that get denied with prejudice tends to stain your record. Hannah's a junior at Northwestern. She calls me twice a week and hasn't spoken to her mother since she read those messages last month. She said she wants to specialize in asset protection. People need to learn that actions have consequences. Me? Same house, same car, same carefully structured portfolio. Every Friday, Tyler swings by for coffee and a quick episode of the Maya Chronicles. Screenshots of her latest post that Hannah forwards because they're too wild to ignore. Last week's gem, still can't believe my ex would rather be alone than share with someone who loved him unconditionally. Top reply, conditional love based on access to assets isn't unconditional. 400 likes. Sometimes the revenge is just designing your life so well that anyone who attacks it ends up wrecking themselves.